Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Al Fresco Storytime at the Lunenburg Public Library. As you can see, we are not al fresco. We're not outside. We're inside where I'm recording the story that you will now be able to listen to and see what we're doing today. Today, we are going to be talking about these guys. Do you know what those are? Those are pictures of pumpkins. That's right. We're going to be talking about pumpkins today. And in a couple of weeks, you'll be taking your pumpkins and perhaps decorating them and turning them into jack-o'-lanterns. But for today, we're going to look at the inside and the outside of a pumpkin as it comes out of the field. Okay? Well, let's start off with our song. Do you remember our song with all our signs? It's hello and friend. It's time to say, twice on your chin, hello. Great. All right, you ready? Hello, friends. Hello, friends. Hello, friends. It's time to say hello. Well, good morning, everybody. Hopefully the sun comes out in a little while. I think it's supposed to. A little bit cloudy today. Okay. So, as I said, we're going to be talking about pumpkins. Oh, guess what I forgot? I think there's somebody here who'd like to join us. I think our friend Mr. Fresco is inside. There he is. He'd like to come out so he can listen to the story too. Buongiorno, Mr. Fresco. Buongiorno, buongiorno. Buongiorno, mes amis. Oh, I think that's French. Would you like to sit and listen to our story time today? We'd love to have you join us. Oh, that's right, I forgot. He reminded me that we also have something in here that we should take a look at. Our vocabolo italiano, which is too big to fit in a special bag today. But it is here nonetheless, and it looks like this. Isn't that a great picture? And you can see what those are. Those are pumpkins growing still out in the field. And in Italian, the word for pumpkin is zucca. That's an easy one today. Zucca. Okay, we'll put our picture down there. Thank you, Mr. Fresco. Okay. The first story I want to share to you is, again, it's about how the pumpkin grows and how it looks when it's still out in the field. And this story is just called Pumpkins, and it's by Ken Robbins. And wait till you see the pictures. They're just beautiful. That is a real close-up of a pumpkin. Can you imagine what the rest of that looks like? Wow. At that time of year when the air has turned cool, and it certainly is cool this morning, and the corn stalks have turned brown, and the leaves are falling, they're splashing their color on the ground. And if you look at this picture, I bet if you took a ride around your neighborhood today, you could see a picture, an area that looks a lot like that. Kind of misty, and a lot of the leaves have now come down off the trees. And the geese are flying, and the crows are calling from the empty fields. It seems that there are pumpkins everywhere. Oh my goodness, look at that farmer's crop. That is a lot of pumpkins. But the story of the pumpkin begins in the spring, when the farmer plants the seeds in the ground. You can see the farmer holding a handful of seeds. Those seeds are kind of an orangey color. I've not seen them that color before. And there she is, getting them into the ground so they can start to grow. Oh, and indeed, they have started to grow. That's what they look like when they first start coming out of the ground. The first small leaves come up in about 10 days or so, and in just a few weeks, the vines spread out and the flower buds begin to show. Now, if you ever decide you'd like to grow pumpkins in your yard, make sure that you give yourself plenty of room, because they do indeed spread everywhere. Oh, look at that. Looks like a little person wearing a hat. That's actually where it's connected to the vines of the stem. And a little baby pumpkin. He's so cute. You know what those are? Again, what a beautiful picture. So you can see. Those are pumpkin flowers, and when they first start to appear, they look like that. The bud's all closed up, and then it opens up a little, and then it opens up all the way. Look at that. Isn't that pretty? I love this picture. And here's a picture of a bunch of pumpkin flowers growing on the vine. And if all goes well, every single one of those flowers will turn into a pumpkin. Continuing to grow. What color is that pumpkin? Yeah, that's a green one. That means that it's not quite ripe yet. But you can see what's starting to happen. There's some of that orangey color starting to come out. I think this one might be ready. Look at that. At the height of the summer, full-size pumpkins are hidden among the vines, and as the summer passes, the vines are cleared away, and a patchwork of pumpkins can be seen on the ground. Have you ever gone to a pumpkin patch to pick your own pumpkin? Probably have seen something like this, and you get to wander around and pick out the one that you think is best. That's fun to do. Oh my, this is another great picture. Look at that. Pumpkins growing all different shapes and sizes and colors. Believe it or not, every single one of those is a pumpkin. Wow. Pumpkins grow in any number of colors and shapes and sizes. The ones we know best are the bright orange ones, and more or less round, but many kinds are yellow and tan and green, even blue. Some are round, but some of them are kind of flattened or squashed, you might say. And some are so tiny, they fit right in the palm of your hand. While others are positively huge. Oh my goodness, you ready for it? Wow, look at the size of that pumpkin. Yikes. People hold contests to see who can grow the biggest pumpkin. The gigantic pumpkin on the forklift weighs over 1,000 pounds. Wow. My goodness. Many farms will let you go right out into their fields to pick your own pumpkin right off the vine. You must pay for it first, of course, and then you take it home. So you can pick your pumpkin, pay for it, take it home. Oh, it's like he found his favorite one. I like that shape, almost pear-shaped. I like that one. That'll make an interesting jack-o'-lantern. Oh, and that's exactly what he's starting to do. First you have to draw a face with your marker. And then you have a big person with something sharp, a knife or a special cutting blade. Cut the top off so you can get to the inside. Pages are hard to turn sometimes. Oh my. And you can see, what you need to do next is get all the things that are inside the pumpkin, and we'll look at the inside of the pumpkin in a moment. Sometimes people call it the guts. You gotta scoop all that stuff out, and it's kind of lots and lots of seeds and all this stringy membrane, but you gotta scoop all that out. Then you can start to carve your pumpkin face, your jack-o'-lantern face. And here's the one they did. It's a little scary to me. That's a scary looking mouth. Not a happy pumpkin. It's a good one. On Halloween, everyone dresses up for trick-or-treat. Another scary-looking pumpkin. You gonna see that one? Yikes. And ghosts and goblins walk the streets, and pumpkins are a part of the scene. By November, the pumpkins are mostly gone, picked for jack-o'-lanterns or pumpkin pie. The few that are left will die on the vine, eaten by animals, or left to rot. Their seeds will survive, though, at least some of them will, to make more pumpkins the following year. Oh my, look at all the pumpkins inside those. All pumpkin seeds, inside those pumpkins. Can you imagine if every single one of those seeds grew a new pumpkin? Wow. Check out this page. What do you think is your favorite one? I kind of like this guy right here. He's got kind of a happy, goofy face, but I like it. All right, well, that was a great story and certainly tells in some beautiful pictures just how we get from our pumpkin seed to the pumpkin we pick off the vine. Okay. Next, oh, I told you I was going to show you a pumpkin, so hold on a second. Let me grab that pumpkin so I can show you. Here's one I went to a farm to pick. Looks like this. Big and round and certainly very orange. And you can see this part right here, which is very stiff and dried out now. That's the stem part, what's left over. If it were still attached to the pumpkin, it would be green and it's still kind of flexible, but right now it's all dry and hard. But it makes a very handy way for you, and I cut this one open, to open up your pumpkin. Take the cap off. Now, if you were going to carve this to make a jack-o'-lantern, probably wouldn't cut it way around here, but I wanted to be able to show you what was inside the pumpkin. Now, what do you think? We cut this out. Again, you can see the outside now is ripened and it's very orange. Do you think the inside is orange as well? Maybe the same bright orange? That would be cool, wouldn't it? I don't know. Any other colors? Well, if you open up an apple or a pear, the inside is kind of white. Do you think it might be white? I don't know. Let's find out. Oh my. It's orange, or maybe you might even call that kind of a yellowish color. Not the same orange, certainly, as the outside. This is a paler color orange. And indeed, it does have lots and lots of seeds. You can see they're kind of hidden here, trapped inside this membrane. If you pull on it, you can see, oh my goodness, there are so many seeds inside here. Little tiny seeds. It's, when you carve out your pumpkin, if you decide to do that, it's fun to take the seeds and dry them out and bake them in the oven. They make a yummy snack. Personally, I like mine with a little bit of salt on them, but it's a very crunchy, healthy snack. This, again, this stringy part in here is called the membrane. That's what holds the seeds in place. So that's the inside of a pumpkin. Very cool. Okay. Well, I have an activity, before we get to our second book, I have an activity for us to do. And again, we talked about our pumpkin pictures up here. And these pumpkins all have numbers on them. Should we count them? 1, 2, 3, 4, and what would come next? Is it 8? No, let's not go there. Let's go way back to the beginning, because when you read, you start over here on the left, and you go to the right, and then you go back to the left, and keep going, all right? So 4, back to the left, 5, 6, 7, 8, back to the left, 9, and 10. Okay, so what we're going to do now is play a little game where you are going to cover your eyes. I'm going to take away one of these pumpkins, and you have to guess which one I took away. All right, so look at what they look like. This is a good activity for giving your visual memory a chance to grow a little bit and to have some practice to develop. Okay? All right, so close your eyes, everybody. Close your eyes. All right, you can open. Let's see. What could be missing? Is it the, oh, you think it's 5? Oh, nope, 5 is there. 2? No, but it's close to the 2. It's the number that comes after 2. Whoops. It is 3. It's the number 3. Okay, just down just a little bit. All right. These are a little crowded here. Okay. All right, ready? Try it again. All right, close your eyes. You can open them. Well, there's a big hole right here, so you know it's the number that goes there. So it's the number that comes after 4, but before 6. That's right. It's 5. Anybody out there 5 years old? No, I bet there's lots of 5-year-olds. Okay, all right, let's do one more. Close your eyes. All right, you can open them again. Oh, wait a minute. I tricked you this time. I took away 2 numbers. 2 numbers. Now, if you're looking at this, you could try to, what was it? I don't know if I remember. But you can also look at what's up here. And we have the 1 and we have the 3. But we don't have the number that comes after 1. What do you suppose that is? Yeah, that's an easy one. It's the number 2. So now we have 1, 2, 3, but we don't have the number that comes after 3, and you know that that number is 4. Yep. So this is a good visual memory practice. And it's easy to make these, and you can make just simple circles or any kind of shapes or whatever you want. There's one other way to do this. It's a little bit trickier. You're pretty good at guessing. So what we're going to do is we're going to take these down, and we're going to use, what do you think, 3 numbers or 4 numbers? Let's use 4, because you're pretty good at this. So we're going to use a 5, and let's use a 2. And how about maybe 4 and 1? Now, before, when our pumpkins were up here, let's take this guy off here. The more numbers you put, the harder it gets. And this is random order, so that makes you use that visual memory a little bit harder. You got to really work your brain on this one, because these are not in any kind of order. When we count, we don't go 1, 4, 2, 5, right? So that's not going to help you as what comes next. You're just going to have to take a look at this and take a picture in your brain and see if you can figure it out. Okay, so close your eyes. I'm going to take one away. All right. You can open them again. Oh dear. Well, we didn't have a 3, so it can't be. And 5's over here. What it was? Oh, you're good. It is. It's 2. 1, 4, 2, 5. Can you remember those numbers? Yeah. 1, 4, 2, 5. All right. Should try it again. We'll do one more. All right. Close your eyes. Right, you can open them again. That spot over here, it's 1, 4, 2, right, 5. Good memory, good visual memory. So, again, this is the random order. It's a little bit trickier, and as you can imagine, it gets trickier the more numbers you put up there in random order. So, it's just kind of a fun game that you can play at home. All right. So I have another story to share with you today. This is a real favorite. It's all about the biggest pumpkin ever. Woohoo! Stephen Kroll wrote this story, and Jenny Bassett helped him draw the pictures to go along with the story. Once there were 2 mice who fell in love with the same pumpkin. Let's see. Do you see a pumpkin in this picture? Let's see. Must be so small at this point we can't see it. Oh, there it is. It is tiny. Clayton, the house mouse, noticed it one day in the vegetable garden. It was still little and green, but Clayton thought that he could make it grow really big and might even get big enough to win the grand prize at the town pumpkin contest. Desmond, the field mouse, discovered the pumpkin the same day. He thought that if he helped it to grow, it could become the biggest jack-o'-lantern in the neighborhood. So 2 mice, same pumpkin, but with different ideas about what they're going to do with it. That afternoon, Clayton watered the pumpkin, and he also mixed up some fertilizer of manure and water. That's a healthy thing for a plant to eat. He spread the mixture around the pumpkin to make it grow larger. And that very same night, Desmond went into the garden and he watered the pumpkin too. He also spread some manure mixed with water around it. That's one lucky pumpkin, getting very well fed. The next day, Clayton watered and fertilized the pumpkin again. And the next night, guess what? Desmond did the same thing. And as you can imagine, that pumpkin started to grow and grow and grow. And by the end of the month, the pumpkin was so large, Clayton couldn't believe his eyes. Woohoo! That's a great looking pumpkin that they've got going there. It looks very healthy. Oh my goodness, said Clayton's mother, and it's not even fully grown. Clayton shrugged. Well, all I do is water it, he said. So Clayton's mother leaned over and whispered in his ear, if you want the pumpkin to bigger, faster. The secret is sugar water. That night, Desmond brought his brother Morris to see the pumpkin. Morris knew everything there was to know about growing things. "Whoa, that's some pumpkin," he said. And Desmond shrugged. "Oh, all I ever do is water it," he said. So Morris whispered in Desmond's ear, "You should try using sugar water." Must be a farmer's secret. So the next day, Clayton dug a small hole beside the pumpkin vine, and in the hole he placed a bowl full of water and sugar. And he cut into the vine just a little bit a few inches from the pumpkin, and in the cut he put one end a piece of candle wick. Then he put the other end into the bowl of sugar water, so the wick is gonna suck up the sugar water from the bowl and put it right over into the pumpkin. That night on the other side of the pumpkin, Desmond did exactly the same thing. So now you can see this one pumpkin is being fed sugar water, but from both sides. Wow. Within a week, the pumpkin was twice the size it had been. And within 2 weeks, it was absolutely enormous. Wow. Way bigger than Clayton. Clayton was amazed. He ran down the road and peeked into his friend Jimmy's pumpkin patch. The pumpkin Jimmy was growing for the contest looked much smaller. Clayton scratched his head. "I have an amazing pumpkin," he said out loud, "and I think I'm going to win that contest." So that night, Desmond and his brother Morris spent a long time looking at the pumpkin. "How do you think it got that big?" Desmond asked. Morris shrugged. "Well, a little luck and a little skill." "It's going to make some jack-o'-lantern," said Desmond. "It sure is," said Morris. There's Morris and Desmond looking at that great, big, healthy-looking pumpkin. It's still green, though, so it must mean it's not quite ripe. A week later, Clayton noticed the pumpkin was bigger than the family car. And during the day, everyone he knew came by to admire it. And at night, all the field mice gathered around to do the same. By now, summer was almost over. In a week, the pumpkin would be full grown and starting to turn yellowish and then orange. And a few weeks after that, it would be ripe and ready for the pumpkin contest. Woohoo! Clayton could hardly wait. The pumpkin was growing so fast it would soon be larger than his house. Then he had a terrible thought. Oh no! If the pumpkin was so big, how was he going to get it to the contest? It wouldn't fit in his little red wagon. Wouldn't even fit in a truck. Clayton decided to worry about this when the time came. Maybe that's a good idea. Personally, I'd want to plan a little bit, but that's just me. That night, the weather grew colder. Thinking that might be an early frost, Clayton rushed out to the pumpkin with his blanket. But one was not enough. Soon he was rushing back and forth carrying all the blankets from the house. I hope his family didn't mind. As he worked, he hummed a little song, and as he hummed, he heard someone else singing, and also began to realize that someone else was covering up the pumpkin with blankets. Desmond, too, had seen the danger of an early frost, and he, too, had brought blankets for the pumpkin. And as he worked, he sang a little song, and as he sang, he began to realize that someone else was working and humming. Think the two are finally going to get to meet? I think so. Clayton stopped humming. He put down his pile of blankets and peered around the corner of the pumpkin. Desmond stopped singing, and he put down his blankets and peered around the corner of the pumpkin. The two of them bumped heads and fell down. "You've been feeding the pumpkin," said Clayton. "And you've been feeding the pumpkin," said Desmond. "That's why it got so big," said Clayton and Desmond. And they burst out laughing. They realized what had been going on. When everything had been explained, Clayton said, "I know I'm going to win the contest if I can get the pumpkin to town." And Desmond smiled. "I'll help you. Just let me carve the pumpkin into a jack-o'-lantern for Halloween when the contest is over." "It's a deal," said Clayton. "A deal," said Desmond. And they shook on it. The morning of the contest was bright and sunny. The mice were bringing their pumpkins to the town square by truck and car and wagon. Some were rolling them along the ground. That might work with a medium big pumpkin. Oh my. Now how do you think they're going to get the pumpkin, this great big huge pumpkin, into town? What could they do? Well, they said it was too big for a truck. What if they had a really big truck? Maybe. By boat? Well, I didn't notice any water. That might not work. Good idea, though. An airplane. You could scoop it up. Oh, like a helicopter? Great idea if you have access to a helicopter. But let's see what they decided to do. Oh, my goodness. Take a look. You know what those are? You know the story of the mouse and the motorcycle? Well, there's a whole bunch of mice on motorcycles. Suddenly, they all stopped short, all the people in town. Whoa! Over the fields came the biggest pumpkin anyone had ever seen, and it was being pulled by 100 field mice on motorcycles. Whenever I hear this part of the story, I think, boy, that was a clever idea. But I also think, where did 100 field mice get 100 motorcycles? Maybe from Amazon. When the pumpkin reached town, it was too big for any of the streets, so Clayton had to explain why they couldn't bring it into the square. The mayor understood at once, and he led the crowd to the giant pumpkin and pinned the first prize ribbon on its side, and then everybody danced around it. Who would have believed this? Said Clayton as he danced. Who would have believed this? Said Desmond at the very same moment. Yay. Certainly looks like a prize winner to me. Oh, sure what the deal was. I'll help you get it to Tim, but then I have to turn into a jack-o'-lantern, and you can see in this picture, they cut out the eyes. I think they're working on the nose. When the celebration was over, the 100 field mice pulled the pumpkin back to the field. The day before Halloween, they carved it into the best jack-o'-lantern ever. Oh my goodness, can you look all around on the ground around the pumpkin? What do you see? Well, lots of mice, a few pumpkin parts. Look at the seeds. Wow. I wonder if a seed like that will grow a great big giant pumpkin. Maybe not that big, unless you're willing to put in the extra effort. Your sugar water. And on Halloween night, its wonderful smiling face could be seen glowing for miles around. That is a happy sight for everybody to see. Isn't that a great story? I love it. And I love the fact that even though they both ended up having to share the pumpkin, they didn't argue about it. They just said, oh, you know what, we'll both use it, and I'm going to do this with it. Okay, then I'll do this. And they worked together and made it work. I love that part of the story. That's a good one. Okay. Well, I hope you enjoyed our story time today. But before you go, I want to show you what we have available for a craft kit for this week. So if you are interested, you can just call the library or email me, dlafond@cwmars.org, and make arrangements to come up with your family, drive by in your car and pull in the parking lot, and we'll bring one of these kits out to you. So let me just show you what it is. Chance to practice your eye-hand coordination. So what I have on my tray, and here's my tray. So I'm going to, hard for me to bend it so you can see, I have my paint, this color, because we're going to do a pumpkin picture, is orange, and I poured a little bit out into a cup. So I'm going to be using some paint for this craft, and I want to show you what's in the kit. Pumpkin, and on the pumpkin, there's a whole bunch of dots. So, and this pumpkin is white, it's kind of plain. So I chose orange paint, I love orange. And I'm gonna fill in all these dots with my orange paint, but don't have orange paint? What if you have red and yellow? Then you do have orange paint. Or you might decide you like purple better, or red, or blue. You can paint your pumpkin any color you like. Now, in order to paint these little round dots, show you what you can do. Also in your kit is one of these. You know what that is? It's a clothespin, and when you hang your clothes out on the line, you pinch it on like that, and it holds the clothes to the clothesline. But what we're gonna use it for, take our pom-pom. Cotton ball doesn't really work for this one because it gets a little bit too droopy when it gets wet. So it wouldn't work. You want something you can use over and over again. So we have our, call this a pom-pom painter, just a clothespin and a pom-pom, and here's our pumpkin. So what we're going to do is take our paint and dab, dab, dab. And then, looking at, let's move this, do you mind, Mr. Fresco? Just don't touch the paint, because you'll get it all over you. What we're going to do is we're going to take our pumpkin and we're going to fill in all those dots by just dabbing. So you look for where the circle is, and so your brain registers where it is, and then you have to make your hand, which is actually the muscles in your hand, follow through with where you see it. So, so far so good. Got another one, and you can just keep going, and you can see I painted 1, 2, 3, 4. Fifth one's a little bit, not a whole lot of paint on the fifth one. It's a little better. But, so you don't need to re-dip every time. So when you're all done, you will have a beautiful polka dotted pumpkin. Okay? And again, as I said, you can use any color you want. I just happen to choose orange. So I hope you enjoyed our story time for today. It'll be posted shortly, and we'll see you all next time. Thanks, everybody. Bye.